Sam, it is episode 16. We keep going up. These numbers keep going up. It's getting a little scary.
It's the way it's supposed to work, though, man. I
Yeah.
mean, advance. It would be bad if we had a -1 episode because we can do it wrong, right?
If we'd have started at zero, we should have been real geeks and started at zero, but we didn't.
You have a
It,
trailer technically, so
What, whose voice is that, Sam?
I don't know. Do we
Who
have
is that?
somebody new on the podcast?
We
Wait a
have
minute.
somebody new on
It's
the
not just
podcast.
you. Wait a minute.
So if you're watching this, you've already noticed, but if you're listening, you heard the voice of Lauren Lynch. Lauren is usually in the background sitting there listening to us make ridiculous statements, but today she gets to make some ridiculous statements along with us. Lauren Lynch is the program director for HOU.SEC.CON. How you doing, Lauren?
I'm doing well.
Good. I'm really glad to see you on here, not in the background for once. We wanted to bring you on and talk about Lauren Lynch, talk about the story of you getting into cyber and all of those things. So I'm really excited that you get to be on here with us and talk about just your journey in cyber, your journey in HOU.SEC.CON, all those things. So we'll be talking about that a little later.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Well, first of all, like normal, we're going to do a quick HOU.SEC.CON, 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 user group break, all the things we're doing these days. We'll talk about that and then we'll get into news like normal. We got a fun little news story today. I'm excited about this one. And then we'll get into talking about Lauren and everything here at HOU.SEC.CON. So to start out, Sam, we're getting really close to your baby, right?
Yeah, HOU.SEC.CON. So we are, I mean, by the time we post this, I don't know where we'll be. Hopefully, I mean, it's possible we might be sold out on tickets by then. I don't know. We shall see. We're also looking at ways to kind of increase attendance a little bit and or capacity. But if you haven't bought, again, I'm going to tell you, hey, go buy the ticket, and hopefully we'll still have room. But it is, I mean, it's exciting because we put our toe in the water to see if this was something that was the community wanted, and it's very clearly a thing. So excited to get that kicked off, some great content, speakers, and everything. So yeah, we're close.
Yeah. I mean, I'll say at the time of this recording, we have already pretty much hit our goal that we wanted to hit for just getting people in. And now everything's kind of icing on the cake and it hasn't slowed down. It's been a constant, steady flow of people reaching out and wanting to be a part of it. So very excited about this being the first one here in Houston.
You know, we're going to still get those back channel emails and LinkedIn messages of like, hey, you know, I didn't get my ticket. Can't you help a bro? You know, can't you help me out? You know, we're going to get those. You
Yeah.
know, that's right. So anyway,
Yeah,
but
just because they know somebody, they think they can get in there in the last minute. So, but we're not going to do it this year, folks. So get your ticket.
yeah. The other thing I wanted to mention, important though, on that HOU.SEC.CON, if I may, is I've had this question. I came back from S4 this past week. I was at S4, had a great time, met with a lot of the BRISAC folks, a lot of great people helping drive community in the industry. And you know, one of the things I got asked a few times was, why are you spinning it off from HOU.SEC.CON? And we're not, right? This is an additional conference to HOU.SEC.CON specifically for OT and ICS. So it will continue to have that track at HOU.SEC.CON. It makes a lot of sense just having it at HOU.SEC.CON given the attendance that we have there and a lot of people that are kind of cross-functional. But I just want to make it clear that, hey, this doesn't mean any difference to HOU.SEC.CON's format. We'll continue to have the ICS track there and hopefully see a lot more BRISAC folks out there too.
Yep. And that's a good point, Sam. And it's the same with exec.con. So we've had the CXO, CISO track for like 3 years now. Mark started that up for us back in the day, and we're not spinning it out. We are doing something additional. So in some ways, you could think about it as we've got HOU.SEC.CON and exec.con twice in a year. If you want to really look at it, it's just one of them is independent and one of those events or those two events in the latter part of the year are within HOU.SEC.CON. So we're still doing both. Don't think you can only sign up for one, sign up for all of them. And again, like normal, we're keeping these inexpensive for attendees. We're not trying to, we don't want to be a burden for people to get that to be a burden for people to get in there. So execs, and speaking of HOU.SEC.CON, that one's going along extremely well as well. We've at the time of this recording, we still have a few sponsorship slots, but not very many left. So if you want to sponsor that, please do. Tickets are steadily getting bought on that as well. So make sure you get that going. That is a little bit later in the year. That's July 18th, I think, Lauren, if I
Yes.
remember.
Hotel
Yep.
Zaza in the Museum District.
Yep. Hotel Zaza and Museum District. There's a couple. I did not know that there are a couple of Hotel Zazas in Houston.
Me either.
Yeah. So somebody, I think that was actually Mark that pointed that out
Mhm.
to us, Mark Redington. So Hotel Zaza in the Museum District, really nice spot. And HOU.SEC.CON is at the Norris Conference Center and City Center. If you're an old school Houstonian, it's the old Town and Country area. Do they still call it Town and Country at all? Is it
No, they
just City?
don't.
The
Yeah.
It's Town and Country Boulevard that you drive in on, but
Yeah.
the whole.
Nobody,
Mhm.
yeah, nobody calls it that. But anyway, so that one's going really well. And then HOU.SEC.CON is steadily growing and growing. We're already selling a ton of tickets. We got a ton of sponsors. We still got room there. Sam, anything you want to talk about with HOU.SEC.CON specifically?
With the venue's new, so it's going to be new for everybody. If you've been there the past few years, it's actually much more. It's going to be a lot more fun. We're going to be a lot more flexible with things that we can do in there. So excited to see, quite frankly, what Lauren does because let's face it, she's our mama bear and she's running it. So you and I just get. I'd asked earlier today on our internal call, can I have a tuk tuk, and so that I could just be wheeled around all day long. That was declined, and rightfully so, right? But anyway, so yeah, it's a big space. Is my point on that. And there's going to be a lot of good ideas and things that we're going to implement this year to make it fun to be through all the sponsor spaces and through the conference content and all that stuff. So it'll be yeah, we're really excited for that one. It's going to be a blast.
Awesome. Oh, forgot one thing for HOU.SEC.CON. We've got some exciting speakers for HOU.SEC.CON, but I wanted to highlight two. So we've got a keynote, Darren McElroy, who's the chief of cybersecurity and infrastructure at CISA. I like a local CISA guy, I think, but he's with CISA. So I'm really excited to have him come in and talk about what CISA's doing. What I mean, he's going to be keynoting out. So he's really got his fingers on what's going on nationally. And that's even involves, with CISA, obviously critical infrastructure stuff too, but this is specifically for HOU.SEC.CON. And then really excited also to have Stuart McClure. If you don't know who he is, then I don't know where you've been in cybersecurity over the last few years. But he was the founder of, he did Foundstone back in the day, and which got sold to McAfee. And then he founded Cylance, which got bought by, of all things, BlackBerry. And now they're doing a lot of cybersecurity stuff over at BlackBerry. But he was a founder over there at Cylance. He's going to be specifically part of a panel that we're doing around investment, venture capital, that kind of thing in cybersecurity startups. So I think it's going to be a really interesting topic to have him, somebody that's that well known, is really cool to have him into. So sign up for HOU.SEC.CON. Okay, Lauren, you got anything you want to add to any of what we said?
No, I just want to make sure you did remember to include your speakers, and you did.
You
So
were gonna remind me, weren't you?
She was going to correct us. That
Yeah.
was going to happen. That's all right.
Yeah.
it's
That's
okay.
cool.
You're on top
Maybe
of
we
it.
should have her on all our episodes.
She makes us look good. All right. Well, so on the news article, this is kind of cracking me up. So everybody, for years and years and years and years and years and years, we've all heard of the Nigerian prince that's got the money, and he sends you the email and he says, if you'll just take the money and put it in your bank account or whatever, but all you need to do is send us some money and we'll deposit this in, or give us your banking info and we'll deposit this or whatever. And then what's funny is that Nigeria actually has been a place where there's been a lot of that activity, or a lot of the people that are there have done a lot of, and even in recent days, like business email compromise type stuff. And Lauren and Sam are familiar with this. We feel like we've grown up as an organization because we're getting more business email compromise type stuff. Lauren got one from our volunteer wrangler the other day, of all people, and it was actually really well put together. So obviously an AI job, but one of these guys finally got convicted. He was out of South Africa. He was him and three other guys. I don't know. I don't know if it said what the other two guys, but it doesn't get into all the details. And maybe I need to go find a different. And this is all in dark reading. Somehow he ended up in Canada. Canada got him extradited into the U.S. And these were for crimes way back in 2016, 2017, and that's when BEC was actually fairly new, or hadn't wasn't like into everybody, and then that's where the proof points and the mimecast and all that really started coming into their own because they were blocking a lot of that stuff. So he well, I don't know if he's got did he get convicted yet, or is he just under just going to court? But anyway, he's facing up to 20 years in federal prison here in the U.S. The fact that we actually got somebody from Nigeria just kind of cracks me up. It's I don't know.
I don't. Man, I'm kind of ticked off about it because he was on his way to give me all those millions of dollars and gets caught in Canada on his way in. And I've been waiting since 2016. Like it's like, come on, like really, you know? No,
I don't
I
think
think it's funny. You know the meme floating around with the Nigerian prince sitting on the giant pile of money somewhere. You know, like nobody's responding to me. And like, yeah, that's success right there for us, for the defenders, right? But it is funny when I saw it when you sent that article over. I had to chuckle too. I'm like, I, we're still chasing him, I guess, right? So that's cool. What one of the things I wanted to mention though is I was shocked that it was only like 200K that this guy had got. That the restitution was 200K, right? That he was going to have to pay back. And so I would have felt it would have been a lot more than that, right? Then when as often as it happens, and as a gazillion spam emails that went out, like that's a pretty low amount of money for all the effort, right? So he had to work real hard. Not to say he was the only Nigerian prince with $1 million trying to share it, but I thought that was interesting.
yeah, well, I mean, and even him specifically, it was less than $200,000 total, and he only controlled $22,000 of those funds. So a flight from South Africa to Canada is probably a couple 3 grand. I mean, it's like, did he have any more money left when he got done with this? I don't know.
Well,
It's
clearly he didn't have enough money for a good lawyer, so you know,
well, if he got extradited here, he'll have a public defender and he'll be just
there you go.
fine. Okay. Well, that was a funny story. I think we had fun with it. But it is kind of good to see somebody finally get in trouble for some of this stuff. So, all right. Well, we are going to take a break, and on the other side, we will talk about Lauren. Let her give her story and have some fun. So, see you on the other side. And we are back. Here, we're going to now talk about Lauren. She loves being in front of the camera, if you can't tell. She just absolutely adores. I'm
Yep.
being facetious if you can't tell. She's like, I
We
just want to,
talked her
can
into
you,
it. We talked her into being on the show, right?
yeah.
So anyway,
She's like, please turn the camera off. Just let me do the stuff on the background. But love having you here because you do so much in the background for HOU.SEC.CON and the podcast and everything else. Would love to hear kind of, I mean, I actually know some of it, but I'm sure I don't know all of it because we've known each other and you've been working with Sam and me for quite a while now. So we know some of this, but for our audience, kind of give us what got you into, because you've been doing marketing stuff for a little while, but what got you specifically into cyber, maybe into tech in general? And let's just talk about what got you here.
Yeah. So I went to school for broadcast production, and a couple months before I graduated, realized that was no longer what I wanted to do. So I left school and didn't really have an idea where to go from there. I got my first like real job, and it just happened to be for a IT consulting company. They did like CTRM implementations for oil and gas customers. Started there, started as just an admin, was kind of learning, was new to being in and off. And they were working with a very expensive marketing agency that was messing up a lot of stuff. There was a lot of corrections and things that were needed. Um, I walked into a meeting, saw the tools they were using, mentioned that I was familiar with it, and my boss said, "Do you know how to do this?" I hadn't touched it since high school, but I was like, yeah, no, that's InDesign. I know how to do that. And he said, great, I'm going to fire this company and you're going to do all of our marketing going forward. So that was how I got into marketing. I just took it over from there. So that was how I got into marketing and into IT. From there, I jumped over to an IT recruiting firm. Wasn't super familiar with cyber, but we did do recruiting for Splunk and Palo Alto and a few more. So knew a little bit about the technology. From there, the CFO of Set Solutions, who I had met at the IT recruiting firm, had pulled me into marketing over at Set. So I've spent the last 5 years now in cyber, and it's been really, really fun. I really like it. So.
And that's where you and I met, was at Set
Mhm.
Solutions. It's kind of a funny story. So Lauren came on, and I remember Missy introducing me to you. I
Mhm.
remember in our old offices at Set Solutions, and it was not too long after that that
Mhm.
COVID hit. But we had been talking about. I had kind of started was going to start doing some of the marketing stuff for Set Solutions from a social media standpoint because I had the background, had the podcast and blogging background and all those things. But I was also managing a bunch of pre-sales architects and didn't have time to do that completely. And so, because of your background, it was like, well, and that's what we hired you for, was to start doing
Mhm.
some of that marketing stuff. So we got together, and what'd you tell me when I came to you and said, "Hey, we're gonna start doing the podcast and stuff together."
I think I probably said sure because I knew I didn't have time to actually do any of it.
Yeah.
This was so Set being my first cyber job, I had never worked with a channel before. So
Mm.
I had no idea what that entailed. And so when you talk about like drinking from a fire hose, I walked on, you guys introduced me as a new marketing contact, and suddenly my phone was blowing up, my inbox was blowing up. I had no idea what all that entailed and how many people that entailed. So was very busy at that time.
So she was like, "Yeah, we'll get to it when we get to it," kind of thing. I mean, not dismissing me or anything, but we had the plans to get the podcast going. I had started making plans to do that, and then COVID hit, and all of the stuff that you were working on kind of halted.
Went away. Yeah, for everybody,
Rather,
for
yeah,
us. But yeah, that was a hard shift that we had to make pretty
yeah.
quickly. So.
But we did, and we started over there. We started Ready Set Secure Set Solutions podcast, and got grew it really well. Had a lot of
Mhm.
fun with it. Had a lot of good guests. Had me and a couple of different co-hosts on it, and really grew social media presence, everything else. It was really exciting. And for those of you who don't know, Set Solutions was our day job. Trace Three acquired Set Solutions. Then with all of that, Lauren was moved over to HOU.SEC.CON full time, and I'm still at there the day job. But then we came here and we started this thing that you're watching or listening to, the HOU.SEC.CAST. Um, so it's been a fun ride. We've done a lot to help produce this and grow this. We've got a considerable growth here with this podcast and our social media presence within
Mhm.
for HOU.SEC.CON as well, and now doing all of the different events that we're doing. So appreciate
Mhm.
all of
So,
that.
so on that point, like, I mean, you and I know this answer, Michael, but I got to ask Lauren, like, why HOU.SEC.CON? Why would you want to be doing this? Like, what made you say, yeah, I'm going to come do this?
You know, when the acquisition happened, Trace Three has a great marketing team, but they're huge. Like I went from being the main contact, it was me, and fun fact, my partner was my sister. That was really cool that we got to do that for as long as we did. Um, they really wanted me to niche down and pick a thing. And I told them, I was like, I love all of my channel partners. I've built all these relationships and I like what I'm doing with the show. Like it's going to be really hard to pick and narrow down when this opportunity presented itself. I get to keep all my channel partners. We get to spin up a new show. We get to spin up a bunch of new conferences. We did the user group, like all the things that I loved doing. And I love to just be involved in a lot of different things. That opportunity was here. And it's so funny how small the cybersecurity community really is. Like, that was something I did not expect when I started working with all of these partners. I continue to work with the same, I would say probably 40 or 50 people consistently, no matter where they are, no matter which company they're at currently. So very much, I guess, the community aspect that you guys have built and put together, like, it was a really great opportunity to keep that and to continue to nurture that. So I was really excited when you guys offered me the position.
We're excited to
That'd be
have you.
crazy for taking it, but that's, anyway, I figured you must be crazy, not but at the end of the day, well, boy, are we glad you did because it is a big load off our plates, so,
Oh,
um,
massive. Yeah. We don't have to do this. I joke with people, and we don't have to do it by sheer force of will anymore. We've actually got somebody organizing everything behind the scenes. I just I won't say all of the things we did not do right before Lauren came on board. So it's all getting done right now. Um, so HOU.SEC.CON, obviously, and everything we're doing, we're trying to help the cybersecurity community, but there's other cybersecurity community groups that you're involved in as well. What are some of those that who are you working with? Who do you like to work with? That kind of thing.
So the main one that I work with is the Cybersecurity Marketing Society. Jana Whitver and I'm going to say her last name wrong. Maria Vasquez, I think, are the two that run that. They've done a fantastic job. They grew it from just a small Slack community and a podcast to just a full blown community. They have a really awesome conference that I got to attend this year and meet with all of my, marketing and channel counterparts. Um, a really great resource, something that they're doing right now that I think the community appreciates. And I see you guys doing a ton of it too. You guys are constantly reposting jobs. Obviously,
Mhm.
tech has had a hard year this year with layoffs. So you guys have been great about posting those cyber jobs. The Marketing Society has been really great about posting the marketing jobs, channel account jobs, some different leadership positions. Like, they're really involved in that side of the community, and they've been a really great resource. So, and not just for the hiring stuff, right? I go to that community all the time for recommendations for different vendors, recommendations of how to do different things. I'm, still trying to figure out how we're going to do our bookstore, but it's just been a really great community and a really great sounding
Mhm.
board to help kind of flush out some of those ideas. So
Yep.
they're a
And
very
that
awesome resource.
and that's one thing people I mean, you think about cyber and you think just about a bunch of geeks, looking for bad guys doing things, but there's just this whole ecosystem, like in any industry, that backs up all of that enables that. And marketing, I've told people I've done a couple of, well, not with saying just the stuff that I've done with you, Lauren, but I did a pure technical marketing job I've done twice. Marketing's not easy. It's difficult, and especially when you got a bunch of people in the cyber industry who are sometimes pretty hard to deal with and don't believe anything you say, and then you're trying to convince them of something, and that just doesn't have to be a product. That could be just watch these
Mhm.
videos or whatever. So is
the
there, I know you also have a little
competition's
bit of it.
across I'm sorry, I was gonna say the competition is across everything. So it doesn't matter what specific niche you are, you're competing with all kinds of other things to be unique, right? So that's another big challenge in marketing.
Any other groups you wanted to mention? I know there's, what, like WESIS or I can't remember how they pronounce WISIS or WESIS here locally. You do some stuff with them and like Annie and others.
I haven't participated in those as much, but definitely a big advocate for that WeSys group. When I meet people who listen, hear what I do, and they're talking about wanting to get into cyber specifically for women, I will often, send them towards WeSys to look at their pages, to look at them for mentors and free training and that sort of thing. And also, I've been trying to help people understand that it is more than just hacking. I get a lot of people that's really all they know on a very high level of what cyber is. But I have talked to a lot of women in that group that are doing tons of different jobs. There are people doing the GRC stuff. There are people who are just doing like analyst stuff. I mean, there's so many different directions you can take with that. So really try to steer people towards those groups to learn more about what options are available within cyber. And then that's also something we're clearly trying to push with the Tab Foundation as well, hoping to eventually actually start going into some schools and talking to some students about what types of options are available. We've got the different learning paths for them set up. Once they get through that initial security training, we've got 3 or 4 different paths that they can take, and only one of them is actually the ethical hacker penetration testing sort of path.
Yep.
So
No, it's good to get that whole broad look. I mean, that's part of what when we talk to, we've had Phil Wiley on here and then talked to him in other podcasts and stuff. That's like what he brings up. He had the Hacker Factory podcast back in the day, but he realized that was so much of a kind of a niche when it came to, what you can do in cyber, that he broadened that out and started talking to people in all kinds of different areas. So definitely a lot of paths. And I mean, Sam, I mean, you can do sales in cybersecurity. I
mhm.
mean, you can do sales engineering. I mean, you don't have to just be that uber mega geek, right? So, well, any parting words, Lauren? I mean, this has been great. It's great having you on here and talking about all the things you do. Anything you want to leave the audience with?
Any secrets you want to tell about Michael Farnham?
Not quite that many. No. Uh, no, I guess just, keep up with us online. LinkedIn, I think, is the best place to follow us at. And that's where you'll see when our user groups are coming up. Those are open to anybody and everybody. You'll see when things, important dates like call for papers and stuff, when that opens. I have a lot of people that will kind of hit me up and text me, which is still fine. You can still do that. But we do keep all of that pretty up to date. So that's probably the best place to learn about what's going on with us.
Awesome. Well, thanks again. We really appreciate you being on here. Appreciate you keeping us organized and driving us, keeping us going. Because I love the texts and the Slack messages of, have you done this? Have you done that? It's like, no, I forgot. I'll get to it. And then you probably have to remind me another time after that too. So I appreciate it.
Not a problem.
Problem is we're
Sam,
getting older, man. It's not as easy as it used to be, right? So, and between the conference getting bigger, we're getting older. This is good. This is good for us, right? So, but also a good moment to mention too, as parting words for me is, you know, be like Lauren, get involved. Go whether you're volunteering for something which led to for her here to a full time gig, right? Into anything to mentoring others, right? So if you're already in a gig and you can, take a moment to mentor somebody, right? And get involved, be part of the community, it's important. And it's great to
that's a
have
great
Lauren
point.
on that path, and I'm glad she found us, or we found her, or however that happened. But anyway,
I think she kind of got voluntold a little bit for HOU.SEC.CON, like, because we supported it for our day job. And then she's just, yeah, you're right, Sam, 100%. She just came in and did a bunch of stuff. And then it was like, oh, she's perfect. She knows HOU.SEC.CON backwards and forwards. So, all right. Well, everybody, thanks for joining us and listen to this conversation with Lauren. Really appreciate the time. And then episode 17 will be out in a couple of weeks, and we should have another really good guest for you. Not as good as Lauren, but a good guest. So, all right, everybody. Thank you very much. Talk to you next time.